I remember my brother had recommended a song, and because I'm a music addict, I decided to give it a listen. It was a live performance of Enemy at the Game Awards show of 2022, and as soon as I heard it, I fell in love. The slow beginning smoothly leading into the main number had me swooning, especially since it was a high energy song by Imagine Dragons, with one of my favorite rappers, JID, having a verse on it. I f with this so much, I asked my brother, where did the song even come from? And he told me it's one of the main themes from a show called Arcane. I had heard about it, but I never gave it a chance because video game adaptations are either pleasant surprises or an anxiety-inducing shit show. But after some convincing, I decided to bite. And guys, this show has it all. Rich world building, interesting characters for better or worse, a compelling story, stellar music, unique animation, whatever you want, they have it. This show was absolutely perfect to me to the point where I had developed a hyperfixation for it, or as many sane people would call it, an obsession. Arcane got me into drawing and fanfiction again, trying out headcanon writing on Tumblr, studying screenwriting, even role-playing a little bit as a hobby. I still hold this show dear to my heart as inspiration for my own projects, and as one of the greatest video game adaptations I've ever experienced next to The Last of Us and Edge Runners. But here's the thing, that was 2 years ago. It's 2022. It's 2024 now. People can change in 2 years. And even as we grow, so does our perspective on things. With the promotion of Arcane Season 2 coming out in November, I felt like now is a great time to look back on the first season. But this time, without the... This video will be me giving out my personal thoughts and opinions on Arcane Season 1 and going over what makes me cry and what makes me, well, cry. So relax, my guy, and let's go on a wild adventure back into the land of Piltover and Zon. If you are new here, then hi, I am the unluckiest member of the internet, but if that's too rude for you, then please, call me India or Indy. And this is a brutally honest review of Arcane. Disclaimer. I have been told that sometimes my opinions can be orthodox, so please know that this is just my opinion, not actual facts. If there's stuff in this show I dislike but you enjoy and vice versa, that's fine. As a matter of fact, I'm always open to finding out why so I can get a new perspective on material I probably overlooked in my own viewing. So let's make love the comments, not war, alright? If you're sensitive to spoilers, I recommend getting off this video, checking out Arcane on Netflix, and coming back. But if you don't care about spoilers or have already seen the season, then let me shut the f up and let's get to it. So at the start of the series, we follow a small group of kids commonly dubbed as the Sump Rats, consisting of Milo, Clagger, and our two main leads, Powder and Vi. The mismatched family can only make a living scrounging up money from hauls, and today they're going after their biggest one yet, a scientist in Piltover they got intel from courtesy of Little Man. So the thing about the series is that it takes place in a portion of Runeterra. Yes, I played a bit of League, particularly Legends of Runeterra. I really love that game, highly recommend it. Anyway, the series takes place in Runeterra, where the twin cities Piltover and Zon are located. The best way I can explain this to a blind watcher is that Piltover is San Diego and Zon is Compton. These cities always butt heads because Piltover wants to hold Zon under its heel by using enforcers. But after a protest turned nasty on a bridge that connects them, Zon has become like NWA and decided they don't f the police. Especially Powder and Vi, who lost their parents during the protest and have since lived under the guidance of Vander, the Hound of the other city and arguably its leader. So, because of the oppression, the Sump Rats have to rely on their raw techniques and skills to steal for some money to keep some food in their bellies and clothes on their backs. Which is why they think this haul on this scientist will get them a nice piece of change for maybe a Happy Meal or a dollar menu item or something. But little do they know that today is going to be the start of something new, because as soon as Powder goes snooping around and touching shouldn't be touching, everything blows up in their face. Literally. With the start of many messes Powder will leave in her wake, the gang haul ass out of San Diego, Piltover, and back into the dumpster pile that is, again, literally. But they're not out of the show just yet, because with their haul and Milo flapping his gums, the kids gotta fight some punks off for their stuff. And honestly, they wet the floor with these guys. Yeah, they're all a bit rusty, and it's more of like a dog fight than an actual brawl, but they're out here really throwing hands. Vander taught them well. Sadly, celebration is cut short, because during their little scruffle, Powder ran off the fenceless with the haul and backed into a corner. She had no choice but to toss the stolen goods into the pier. By the way, they can still fish it out, right? Like, how deep is that water? Because if this is the same area Silco takes Jinx to later on in Act 2, then that means this isn't as deep as we think. If they don't get Violet to swim her broke ass down there, because of her minor screw up, Powder returns to her adopted family to get reprimanded by Milo for losing the haul they worked hard to get. And by they, I mean via Clagger. Homeboy didn't do a damn thing. And of course, even with everyone visibly tired, Milo keeps barking out like a chihuahua, and they head home with him saying,
"She jinxes every job."
Alright, so let's talk about the characters a bit before we continue on in episode 1. When I first watched the series, I only liked Powder and Clagger, which is not to say I hated Milo and Vi. I actually tolerated them, but Powder and Clagger were just the better characters to me. See, I'm kind of a sucker for an underdog story, which is probably why my favorite manga series is Naruto. When it comes to Powder, she is considered the weakest of the family because of her smaller build, her lack of proper training, and being babied by everyone around her, especially Vi. She's expected to fail, so when she succeeds, it's always a delight to see, especially later on in the series when it comes to her gadgets, even if it has drastic consequences. I just can't help but root for her the entire time I watched the show, and even rewatching it, just seeing Pow Pow so young and determined to prove everyone wrong, made me be her #1 cheerleader. As for the rest of the team, Clagger is my second favorite just for being a quiet, gentle giant of a guy. If Violet has Vander's spunk and strength, Clagger has Vander's understanding and patience. Because of this, he's usually looking for a peaceful route to solve his problems, but he's not afraid to tussle and get dirty for his family. And for that, I love him. I wish I could say that for Milo, but unfortunately this guy is kind of annoying. He doesn't piss me off per se, but honestly Vi's patience is better than mine, because if it was me, I would be playing baseball with his head for the pools. It's a shame I don't like him, because knowing what happens to him makes me feel bad for not, feeling bad. And then there's the woman of the hour, Violet, the leader of the Sump Rats and Powder's big sister. Arguably, the main character of the series. So I'll admit right now, I am alright with Violet. I totally get where her frustration resides in regards to having to be the big sister of the family. On my first watch, I actually did like her. And even now, there are some aspects I still don't like about her. But after speaking with some friends, watching some Steve videos, and checking out the therapy videos on the characters, I can confidently say that now I am cool with Vi, even if what we have can fall into a love-hate relationship. Just know that Act 1, I feel her character is at its best, and if you think I'm being a hard ass, be patient. I have my reasons for not liking her very much in Acts 2 and 3. Alright, back to the episode we go! With Violet telling Milo to shut up, the kids return to Compton, Zon, where we are proudly introduced to the playground with some nicely rendered establishing shots as B. Miller's playground plays. If I could play it, I would, but you know how YouTube can be with copyright and shit. If you want to listen to it, go check it out real quick. It's a great tone setter for the Undercity, even establishing how diverse it is and how rough around the edges it can be perceived at first glance. Remember these places we pass, okay? They'll be on your homework. Inside the last drop stands good old Vander, taking care of his customers with some drinks and even with his works, as seen with him standing up for, he doesn't have a name. That's interesting. If you don't know, most of the background characters in Arcane actually have names. and a little story with them too. I find that so cute and cool to do for background characters, even characters that you probably will only meet for an episode. Anyways, just remember this guy, alright? He's gonna be on your homework. After he saves him from Jet Black, Vander catches wind of his kids sneaking back home and letting them know, hey, you bitches ain't slick. I know what you did, and I have half a mind to whoop your ass. I'm kidding. He doesn't say that. But he does scold them, especially Vi, because of her big mouth. Do all these kids have a big mouth? So Vander essentially tells his children to go away so he can speak to his favorite child, I mean Vi, and have her know she's a big sister. Start acting like it. After Vi tells him about the fight they got into, Vander decides to be Sherlock Holmes for the night and go investigating at Benzo's with Clagger. Which, I gotta get this out of the way. I know he scolded everyone, but why does it feel like he went a bit too hard on Milo and Clagger in particular? Clagger was trying to defuse the situation when the fight happened. Milo was the one who started it. Clagger didn't deserve that. But maybe Milo deserved it because Powder ends up overhearing him berating her to Vi, who low-key agrees with him without agreeing with him before ripping his ass. Honestly,
get her, Jay.
The idiot deserves to be chewed on. Down at Benzo's, where Lil Man, aka Echo, and his caretaker Benzo are, Vander decides to get his 2 senses on everything. They both conclude that the punks from before weren't just some kids looking for a fight, but spies working for a man named Silco, a guy who not only has a badass introduction scene, but seems to be thirsty for power and willing to do anything to get it, even threaten and drug kids, which...
Good for you. Good for you.
And it seems they're not the only ones in on this, because the enforcers issued Grayson and Marcus to find the Sunbrats and bring them in, even if Vander is not here for it. And as much as Grayson informs him of the serious damage made, Vander doesn't budge. Grayson will remember that. And so will Echo, because his ass was eavesdropping the whole time. Episode essentially ends with Powder and Vi bonding on the rooftop, where Violet informs Powder that everyone has hard beginnings, even her, Milo, and Clagger. But their beginnings don't define them, it's their future. And if that's the case, then baby. Powder, feeling high in spirits, decides to let Vi in on a secret. She's got evidence of their little haul in the form of a bright blue gemstone. Everyone in Arcane gangster until they see one of these. Vi convinces her to keep it a secret before pulling a Tetsuo and saying how everyone should watch out for them. Which is absolutely right, because damn do you and Powder cause a lot of damage in the future. Episode 1 of Arcane is a great introduction episode to all the characters of Zaun, even hinting to those in Piltover through subtle plot details you probably wouldn't pick up on until your second viewing, which makes the show more amazing if you ask me. It does a great job making me want to learn more about Zaun and his people, while also rooting for these characters and hoping if they don't make it out of the hood, they at least dominate the hood. The pacing here is smooth, not too quick and not too slow, with every second counting. The animation is superb, and the music is to die for. Younger me immediately went into the next episode completely hooked, and I don't blame her. If I had to rate this episode, I would give this a solid 9 out of 10, or on an alphabetical scale, an A. Spectacular start to a spectacular series. Alright, if episode 1 was our introduction to Zaun, then episode 2 is our introduction to Piltover. In this episode, we find out who the scientist is that the Sunbrats were robbing from, and he's an egotistical dork named Jace Thomas. And this guy isn't just a scientist, he's a man who is hell-bent on creating magic with technology. Why? Because after being saved by a mage with his mom when he was a baby boy in the middle of a blizzard, he felt like he had to make magic. Also, if you play League, I think you and I both know who saved him. They're not slick. Even if making magic is cool, it makes Jace a menace to society, because magic and Piltover is like hot Cheetos at schools. They don't mix. So because of the opinion of council member Heimerdinger's assistant Victor, the enforcers arrest him and put him on trial for almost making another Wall Street. So let me stop here and dissect these characters real quick, like I did with the Sunbrats. I've been told and seen on many corners of the internet that Jace Talus is considered one of many's least favorite characters of the series, next to Marcus, Sky, Mel, and Silco. And though I understand why, I'm okay with him. I do think this isn't his worst, because I actually think that's for future acts to show you. So on my first viewing, I gradually came to not like him, and even on my second viewing, he does things that make me roll my eyes. But all in all, he's just a grown-up Milo to me. You'll see what I mean soon. Honestly, compared to his background here and in League, he's way better in the show than in the games. Actually, almost all the characters in the show are better than how they are in the video games. Especially Violet and Jace, because these two were as blank as plank, so to make them as compelling as they are is such a delight. There's only one character I could argue is not as strong and even on the same level that they are in the game, but I will explain that come Act 2, so be patient with me. Victor is another case of a character whose changes from the games are more than welcome. I really like this character, even if his fangirls make me scared that if he was real, he'd be having 1,000 restraining orders by now. Yes, he's pretty handsome, and yes, his Russian accent gets me sometimes, but I don't love him enough to see what's under his pants. I just dig his character and how he brings a different aspect to interactions between Pilties and Zonites, in which we find out ranges from being friendly to make sure there's heating in the trunks. Luckily, Victor and Jace end up being best of friends, and for some fans, maybe secret lovers? Honestly, I can see it. Anyways, Jace goes on trial in front of the Council of Piltover, which is just a congress with your usual members. The MILF, the idiot, the secret twink, the cool guy, the cool lady, and the other two main characters of the series, Heimerdinger and Mel Medarda. If you want to know more about these characters, I'll hit you up later. But for now, the only ones that matter here are Heimerdinger and Mel. At the trial, these two butt heads with each other like a boomer with a Gen Z. Heimerdinger doesn't want magic on his streets, and Mel's like, I want magic in my sheets. So with the help of Miss Tallis, bless her soul, saying she wants her child to not get banished and pleads lunacy, the council agrees on a ruling. Jace's ass is done at the academy, and he's gonna have to start flipping burgers at Burger King. Which sucks, but it's better than having to go all MacGyver, right? Actually, no, because that night, Jace tries to pull a Guzman, only for Victor to be his Lucretia and save his life. He tells him that he believes in his journey to create magic and wants to ultimately help him realize his vision, while also hitting him with one of the most inspirational lines in the show.
When you're going to change the world, don't ask for permission.
And with that, the episode ends with the gays on a mission to yassify Piltover.
Queen.
Oh wait, I forgot about our homies back in Zion. Let's go check on them. Oh. Looks like the SWAT pulled up on their turf.
That's nice.
While just hanging out at the arcade, the Sunbrats end up getting an unexpected visit from the Enforcers, led by Marcus. Alone? Where's Grayson? That's not important. What matters is that the kids almost experienced the jailhouse rock until a little man comes to the rescue and helps a brother out.
You need to hide those crystals. Yeah, no shit.
Watch your fucking mouth, kiddo. If they think they had it worse, then they're in for a surprise, because Vander is finding everyone is getting real sick and tired of his family man shtick. They want the old Vander, especially this sexy beefcake named Savika.
Do I look afraid?
No. You look weak.
Babe, I'm only weak for your love. With his followers showing their true colors, so does Violet, especially after Echo fills her in on what he heard back at Benzo's. Her and the Sunbrats are hungry for blood, and unfortunately, Vander knows that feeling all too well. So he takes Violet to the bridge for another talk, reminiscing on the past, and this time, instead of telling Violet to be a big sister, Vander's telling her to be a reasonable big sister. The f*** is the difference? Because of his words, Violet decides to chill out a bit and double down for her family and definitely for Baby Powder.
I'm just fucking with you.
She decides to be Iron Man and sacrifice herself to the cops so this whole hunt down for the kids can come to an end. So after a dirty secret goodbye to Powder and gifting her her old toy bunny, whose name is actually Mr. Bunny in Legends of Runeterra, Vi sneaks off to Venzo's to deliver the signal to the Enforcers. The episode ends with the Enforcers making their way downtown, Vander going off of Powder's vibe that something is amiss, and the door opening on Violet, and a cliffhanger.
That can't be it. Where's the rest of it?
Looking back on episode 2, I can confidently say that this is the weakest of the bunch.
Alright.
Though it introduced us to Jace and Victor as well as gave us some insight on Piltover, there isn't much going on in this episode. And what does go on, especially on the side of Zon, can be better clarified in the next episode. So I'll save my thoughts for then. Just know now that back in 2022, I still dig this episode quite a lot and love the cliffhanger since it had me right on the edge of my seat. I dig this so much, I yelled for my bird to put on the next episode and he did with haste. As of now, I don't like this cliffhanger, and even if there are some great explanations out there to support it, I just can't with knowing what will happen in the next episode. It's a solid episode that helps with the world building of the series and even foreshadows some events that will happen long into the future. For that, I will have to give this episode a 7 out of 10 and a strong C on the alphabetical scale. Victor and Jace take some time to look through the notes of Jace's attempt at making magic, aka Hextech, which has every page signed, which I don't know if that makes Jace more of an ass or a dork. And after looking through it all, they conclude that they need to speed up the frequency of Hextech for it to work. However, they can't experiment without Jace's equipment, which is locked away and is going to be destroyed tomorrow. Luckily, Victor decides to help his boyfriend by proposing they sneak into the facility and experiment under the council's nose. And though it scares him at first, after hearing Victor's reason for wanting to help, which at this point is just a declaration of love, Jace agrees to their plan in hopes of starting their Hextech dream up. And for sneaking, honestly, it's not hard at all. There's just one measly old guard named Harold that they can probably outrun and break the ankles of. So reaching the office is no problem. Getting in, though, well, that proves difficult when Mel catches them in the act due to working overtime. This chick has half a mind to lock Victor and Jace away, but after this dork rizzes her up, Mel leaves all hot and horny for the boys to work their magic wands. And though the struggle is real at first, especially with their little slip-ups catching the attention of Heimerdinger, Jace uses his inner mage to finally stabilize the gemstone and make a zero-gravity field powered by arcanic energy. At the result, Heimerdinger is understandably amazed and cautious. Mel, on the other hand, thinks this old fart is behind the times and that maybe what Piltover needs is an era of magic.
Hextech. For the era of Hextech.
Don't correct me, Chase, I swear to God. Back in Zon, Violet is found by Vander and Benzo.
Okay.
Finding out Violet was trying to be Superman, Vander found her at Benzo's by... I don't really know how he found out she was there. Maybe Powder told him off screen? Maybe Benzo gave him a heads up, or Echo snitch?
I don't know.
But I do know that because of this, Vander decides to take the fall for the safety of his children, or in his works, because...
Council needs its pound of flesh.
Though Grayson doesn't approve of his choice, she does turn him in, and the subrats are left to fend for themselves, hoping in the future maybe Vander will get out on parole and they can be a family again. Fight! You wish. This is Arcane. Of course that didn't happen. Because Silco's watched The Lion King and Hamlet recently, he decided to take a few pages out of these films and play the bad guy by catching a 2-for-1 deal with Grayson and Benzo, all with the help of his new pet, Stickers. Oh, does it feel like I've skipped some stuff? Alright, let's take a brief break so I can bring you guys up to speed while also taking a look at a few characters. So back in episode 2, while the Undercity was busy with their small civil war and Piltover was being homophobic, Silco was working with the local doctor of the Undercity, Singe, to enact his great plan to accomplish the one thing he really craves. Power. Specifically, the power to lead Zod into true freedom. And he plans to do that exactly by... manufacturing a drug called Shimmer to mass produce and sell. I mean, it's a start? Okay, I'm gonna be honest here. I have watched this show a lot, and I mean a lot. But even then, I really can't tell you what Silco's gain is. At first, I thought he was just out for revenge. Then I thought he was genuinely just doing what he wanted for power. And then I thought he was just psychotic. So I really don't know his gain. Just know that whatever it is, clearly he's not doing a good job at it. At least to me, he's not. He's just making me feel like I'm missing a plot or losing my mind. If you guys understand, can you help a brother out in the comments? Thank you. Anyway, he's been working with Singe to create Shimmer, a drug that is mainly known for turning its consumers into monstrous beings. And if that wasn't enough, he's been talking to Marcus, who has been meeting with him behind Grace's back to crack a deal. He works with him, and he will make sure he gets a raise in more ways than one. Because of their deal made and Silco feeling festive with his drug, he decided today he was gonna go out and play with his toy. On my first watch, I was genuinely scared for every Zon Knight, especially Baby Echo. I didn't expect Grayson and Benzo to drop like flies so early into the series, and now, can I just say it's a bit disappointing? I don't know, a part of me honestly would have loved to see Grayson for a while longer, especially since we do get some insight into her character with someone else in Act 2. Because of her abrupt death resulting in cut screen time and that future scene, for me, it doesn't make that moment in Act 2 super impactful. At that moment, it's just genuinely shocking how much can turn in literally a minute for the characters. But currently, It just feels like her and Benzo are plot devices. With Silco taking Vander back to his place, which has grown quite lovely from the Varan area into a well-oiled factory, he berates him about simply getting friendly with Piltover instead of worrying more about Zod and realizing the dream of the Undercity and freedom that they have spoke of back when they were wet behind the ears. And it's here where we find out about a key detail to Silco and Vander's past. When they were younger, there was a nasty fallout between them, resulting in Vander brutally attacking Silco, giving him his iconic left eye and scar. In exchange, Silco stabbed Vander and made an escape. Ever since, these two have never seen eye to eye. Silco has carried this burden with him along with his thirst to be respected and essentially feared for years until today, where he probably woke up choosing violence. Hearing these revelations being told and shown on first watch made me a bit confused since I was used to Vander being a gentleman. But to know he used to be this violent person who would have an outburst on someone he claims to be his brother to him was so jarring. Yet such good storytelling. I was eating this shit up, and little did I know this was going to get better and better. With Vander now in Silco's hands, he has a little idea of what he wants to do with his new toy. And just as the Hound of the Other City is dragged into a secluded room, he notices someone, Savika. His once loyal beefcake of a woman has stepped into the vats. Back in Benzo's, Violet learns from a terrified Echo that Vander was taken away and Benzo was taken out by Silco. And guess what? That's the last you will ever see of Little Man. In this act, at least. Yeah, it's weird. He appears in the scene and then he's just gone. I don't know where he is when the Subrats go on their rescue mission outside the fact that he gave the coordinates to Violet for where Silco was. And I don't even know where he was during the attack on Benzo's. It's not really something that makes me angry, but it is something that keeps me up at night. With Violet returning home in a shaken state, she lets everyone in on what she experienced, and with just that information alone, Clacker and Milo immediately jump into action to save their adoptive pops. Even Powder gets ready and...
You're not ready.
Oh, never mind. The Subrats minus the baby girl embark on their rescue mission, leaving Powder with her tools and a flare inside of the last drop. I have to agree with Violet on her position to leave Powder out of this, even if those 3 works will come back to haunt her. Powder is smart and damn is she fast, but she's also a bit on the frail side, and if the foes her siblings are going up against are anything like Deckard, well, you can only imagine. It hurts. I know it does, because when Powder was hurting, I was hurting with her. But it was a necessary move to make as a leader and as a big sister. Reaching the factory, the Subrats waste no time finding where Vander is being held and try their best to reach him. But first, Vi needs to go through a quick boss rush. And go through it she does. This girl proudly shows off her training like she has been waiting all her life for this moment. And everyone experiences this as they all come to the realization that Vi really is Vander's prodigy. Even Vander is shook by this. Nah, Savika, you gotta wait roughly 7 years for your taste of Vi's fist. After smacking some lunatics around, Silco decides to hit her with the secret boss, Deckard, all shivered up and ready to Hulk smash. Vi tries her best to tap into her inner Vander, but Deckard is just too much for the girl, and she decides her best course of action is to retreat into Vander's room, buy some time for Clacker to find an escape, and Milo to free Vander. It's a close call, but they all end up succeeding with Vi holding down the fort, Milo finally freeing Vander, and Clacker making an exit for everyone. It's time to go home. At the sight of the results of this mysterious bomb going off, Vander gets up for one final stand in hopes of saving Violet. Armed with nothing but 2 broken metal bands, he storms outside, showing no mercy in fighting the monster Silco created in Deckard. And though he holds his own,
still had it in you.
Using the last of his strength, Vander does the unthinkable. He uses the freshly made and unstable shimmer to save Violet from a collapsing factory. And on the ground floor, he delivers his dying wish before departing from this world.
Take care of Powder.
With this night, the Sunbrats are brutally dismantled and the Hound of the Undercity is no more. Only Vi is the sole survivor in the middle of the wreckage, and before she knows it, she is met with the culprit of this explosion.
Vi, it worked! Did you see me? My monkey bomb finally worked!
You see, because of Powder's sadness and desperation getting the best of her, she created a contraption commonly known as the monkey bomb in hopes of saving her family. And though, for the first time in her life, her creation actually worked, it came at a deadly cost, claiming the lives of Milo and Clacker. The impact also was strong enough to take one of Savika's arms away and put Violet out of commission. This entire scene had me screaming and nearly crying the first time I watched it. I was going through so many emotions as the bomb went off on loop. I was proud. I was sad. I was happy. I was angry. I was astonished. I was horrified. Even watching it again today, this scene hits me square in my gut in a way I just can't explain.
I only wanted to help. I only wanted to help. I only wanted to help.
I told you to stay away. Stay away!
Why did you leave me?
Because you're a jinx! Do you hear me?
This aftermath, this fallout, it was the last straw on the camel's back. I felt myself breaking internally with Powder and Violet going through such a traumatic experience together, resulting in this crescendo of emotions. And though I hated what Violet did, and I was upset with Powder's actions, I couldn't find myself to hate them. They don't know any better yet. These are children. Both just tried to protect their family in the only way they know best. I know some people argue that Violet was in the wrong or Powder was in the wrong, that if Powder didn't use her bomb, then the family was as good as dead, but let's drop that all for a second and take this at face value. That these are children who had just had their worlds taken away from them. Just like they did a long time ago on that bridge with their mom and dad. If you want me to pick a side, or if I was held at gunpoint and had to pick a side, then I will controversially say I side with Powder. But if you want the truth, then that's it. For me, it's hard to be upset with either of them when they have just lost their friends, brother, and father. They need to let their emotions out, and more importantly, they need to be there for each other. But this is Arcane, and this is Act 1. If that was the case, we would have gotten the series we know and love. It only takes one slip up of Violet taking a needed breather to lose her sister. And it only takes forces beyond her control for Powder to find care in the wolf in sheep's clothing. This episode ends with the death of Powder and the birth of Jinx. As the sad track of Ramsey's goodbye pulls us away from the warmth of the fire and into the cold of darkness, just like Vi. Episode 3 was a conclusion to the beginning of the season that had me right on the edge of my seat. Though I was more invested in what was happening in Zahn over Piltover, I still enjoyed this episode nonetheless and how it properly told a story, especially with its usage of colors and cinematography, making me take everything in awe. It also utilizes parallel cinematics in an impressive way, as well as setting up what we should expect come Act 2 with the following questions. What will the birth of Hextech entail? Will Vi and Powder ever reunite? Will Silco pay for his sins? And what will be of Jinx? There's only one way to find out. For the climax and the Zod storyline alone, I have to give this one a 9 out of 10 and an A+. The best episode of Act 1, if I do say so myself. Watching Act 1 of Arcane again was an absolute blast. It was nice to see the Sunbrats again and spend time with them before shit hit the fan, the finale at the beginning. And it was nice to see other fan favorites again, like Vander and Victor. Yeah, there are some flaws in the act, and there are bound to be more in the future. But even the best of the best shows and movies have their shares of flaws. And even if Arcane possesses them, it doesn't stop me from realizing that I was lucky enough to come across this series when I did 2 years ago. I can't wait to watch Act 2, where arguably the real action kicks off, in what I consider to be the best act of the series. I plan to release a video for Act 2 in the future along with Act 3, so that come November we can just automatically hop into Season 2 together. Outside of this lovely series, if things kick off well on this channel, I do plan to do other videos, such as a retrospective on Elite and True Blood. I even want to do a review on Blue Eye Samurai and Hell of a Boss if possible, though I feel that fandom might kill me for what I got to say about that show. I'm not super picky with what I cover here. It could be a show, movie, or even a video game, as I do play some games here and there, or watch some gameplays from my brother. I have pre-ordered Sparky Zero, and as a Tenkaichi fan, I'm sure I'll have a lot to say come October. But until then, I will see you all in the next video. For the meantime, please stay safe, stay hydrated, and have a good day, everybody.
If you single, don't hit me up. But if you're in a relationship, hit me up.